Y'all know what? Poor Sheree. Poor Sheree. Poor Sheree. Poor Sheree. We got to talk about Love and Marriage Huntsville. It is what? I think this is season 6. I think that's what they're calling it. I don't know. It's season something or other, okay? Because y'all know they be doing these AB seasons, and that just throws me all the way off. It also throws off the numbers on the whatever platform you watching, okay? So we talking about what episode 7 is called My Sharia and More. And this is Sheree's grand debut on Love and Marriage Huntsville. And I want to know what y'all thought about it because me, myself, and I'm gonna give it a 10. I'm gonna give it a 10. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'm gonna give it a 10. This episode has so much. I was so intrigued. Tiffany, 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 my dear. Tiffany, to be able to go toe to toe with a Real Housewife of Atlanta who has been on the show for, since what? She's an OG on Atlanta. So, Sheree knows how to swerve, sway, bob, weave, and throw shade, right? But I got to tell you, last night, I felt right bad for Sheree being asked all these questions. I did. I felt right bad for her. I felt like this is so invasive. And at the hands of Tiffany, no less. And Tiffany was relentless, okay? Relentless. This episode was very Tiffany heavy. And to be quite honest with you, unlike prior seasons, a Tiffany heavy episode circa season 6, okay, is a different type of episode. Back then, I felt like, Tiffany kind of served as a more of an annoyance than anything else because it just kind of felt like she wasn't really able to stand 10 toes down in the things that she said. It would be like she would mutter something smart about somebody, but then when it came back to it, be like, oh, did I say that? I didn't say that. I didn't mean to. Who said that? But now I feel like Tiffany is, oh, okay. I don't know if it's because she expecting and she done got bold or what. All I know is, Tiffany, if this is what it takes, I'm gonna need you to become expecting again, okay, next season too. Because I was like, now this is some mess causing stuff. I'm gonna give this episode a 10. I'll give it a 10. Not only because we had the anticipation of Sheree, but also just because I felt like it was just a good episode. It was really, really good. And what's great about it is like nobody came out of pocket, so to speak. It didn't look like nobody was about to fight. Although, let me just say this. Okay. There's a difference when you have shade being thrown by someone who is very mature, who is very well spoken. And when I mean well spoken, just they really think their words through and they use their words versus throwing hands. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like this extreme level of intense discussion that just makes you want to cringe because it's so uncomfortable. So we had a couple of those moments, and I thought it was very interesting. I also thought it was very interesting how two groups of women handle two different issues, and we'll talk about that as well. So we start things off with, and then of course there's the charade of it all. Let's just get into that, okay? There's the crossover of it all, which is, again, it just totally, it's like fireworks. It's been fireworks for these past couple of weeks with Atlanta and Love and Marriage Huntsville. And then it's been triggering because for me, just finding out the stuff about Martel and what he was trying to do allegedly with Melody and the tapes and all that kind of stuff. Like, I call it a tape because that's old school, but y'all know what I'm saying. My mind is blown and my mind is disturbed. I'm like, Sheree, is this somebody that you really want to be with or even pretend to be with? Oh, or even have some type of business arrangement, as Kimmy gonna say later on in the episode. Oh yes, Kimmy is calling it out. So we got to talk about all of that. All right, so Martel is at the event space for the Upscale magazine because he was going to be on the cover. Now, we've seen him talk about it on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and I do like how they did all of this. On Atlanta, we saw him preparing or doing the photo shoot for the Upscale magazine. And then on Huntsville, we actually see him actually having the celebration for the magazine. So it's kind of like the before and after for this whole magazine. And I mean, whether or not it was planned like this, the dates was planned, I don't really know. But I mean, it's working. It's very, I think that they have done a very good sequencing in terms of how they portrayed each Martell, at least on one episode, on one show, and then on another, and then bringing in Sheree for that celebration as she went with him, as he went with her to another celebration on another show. So I thought it was excellent timing looking at the technical aspects of it. He talks about, he's invited all of his friends and family, his friend girl. Okay. I mean, just yet another example of the two of them tiptoeing around this notion of them being together, which they have been the ones who have thrust this thing in our faces with these photos down to the TMZ and all these other places. So he knows that everybody's going to be asking him questions because he's dating a celebrity. And I think it was just like the celebrity of it all that just kind of was like, you giddy about this, ain't you? You giddy about having your name attached to the likes of a Sheree. Okay. It just, I don't know. It just seemed a little like, yeah, I'm dating a celebrity, And he even goes on to kind of like, brag about it a little bit later. He says he's dating, Sheree, who is a celebrity, on the cover of a magazine. His wine is lit. His life is lit. If it's so lit, why don't you leave that other woman alone? Why don't you leave Melody alone? Okay. If it's so lit, leave her alone. For real. Anyway, he actually calls Sheree and starts asking, what time you coming? You know what I'm saying? And she's got to get on the road. If you look, I think Sheree got that same ponytail from her first confessional, that one in that light blue, because she had said she was doing interviews and she would be on her way or something like that. So it's kind of interesting to note the timing of that. Y'all know I like to be in the nitty-gritty of the behind the scenes as well. Over at Mel's house, she has invited Nail over and she has invited Tiffany. And she really wants to have a Ponderosa for Tiffany and Keke to really get them back together and on a good foot after the Tea Party Ponderosa. So she's having a separate Ponderosa for the two of them and Nail to kind of get things on a good foot, right? So Melody starts the convo, and Keke, starts first and says, that's not normally who she is. I don't know Keke because I feel like we done seen this. We're gonna see a similar Keke, coming up. You know what I'm saying? But we're gonna let it go for now, all right? Because we gonna stay in the moment, all right. She also says it's not okay, and Melody asks her how she's gonna start doing better and coming across less angry and aggressive or something like that. Interestingly enough, the use of the word aggressive on this show and the use of the word aggressive on Potomac, I just find it interesting how different groups are okay with different levels of language. And I just thought that was interesting. It just made me think about it because one of the things that I felt like I'd gotten from Potomac was we are not supposed to call, Black women aggressive. But here, and some of you, and a lot of you in the comment section were like, well, no, if that's how you were acting, that's how the person was acting. It don't have nothing to do. I mean, we're not going to make this into a Black woman thing or Black man thing. But then in this moment, when Melody says it, like nobody's offended by it. And I'm just wondering, like, is it how it's used? Is it the context? Or is it the people? Y'all let me know in the chatterization down below. I just thought it was interesting because, again, the word aggressive is coming up. And I just was like, this is interesting because it's been used in different contexts over the past couple of weeks with the whole Kenya and Martel situation. And then, again, we go back to, I think was it Ashley calling Dr. Wendy aggressive back in a couple of at some time ago on the Real Housewives of Potomac, that this was such a big thing. Anyway, I just thought I would go back and digress a little bit. So anyway, Keke is still on this idea that knowing her daddy was not a dig, and Nell is like, To me, it felt to me. Did it just feel like I don't know? It could just be me, but it felt like Mel, like not Mel, Nell was just like just trying to get everybody to get along. You know what I'm saying? Like yeah. That's what you meant. That's what you meant. You know, that's just how it felt to me as I was watching the episode. I was like, yeah, she just wanted to let's just get on through this thing. You know what I'm saying? Have a good time. You know what? And so Tiffany, I feel like Tiffany always does a very good job of listening. That is one thing I feel like you can say about her when she's in an argument or a situation. She doesn't seem to do a lot of interrupting. She does seem to be someone who can take information in and process it, and then again, adequately state exactly what she is thinking after a person has said something, even if they have blown up on her, which I think is a skill. And I think it's a mark of, I don't want to call it emotional. I want to say just, it just seems to come across very emotionally intelligent. You know, if not snarky, I mean, she can be snarky, but I think that she displays a level of emotional intelligence to where she can really she knows how to conduct herself even when she is in an argument with somebody. And I like that about her. You know, all in all, they're good. They become good. But Tiffany's still kind of looking like she giving people a side eye because, you know, in her confessional, she's wondering if Mel is looking so happy and glowing because she got a man. Okay, well, the streets saying she got a man or whatever, or she's surmising that she has a man or something like that. But Tiffany still feels like she is in the principal's office. Meanwhile, across town, and this is what I mean by two different groups having two different levels of discourse about a situation, right? So I don't know. I just looked at this situation and I thought it was interesting. So in the situation prior to, Mel and Nell got two convergent parties to get together in a offline type way, right? Whereas I felt like I wish that Latisha, because she says that she wanted to meet with Kimmy and Stormi because she feels like Melody wasn't getting the proper communication with Stormi. So she invited Kimmy and Stormi. And I'm like, well, why not invite Melody and Stormi for a one-on-one Ponderosa so that they could get on the same page if you felt like they weren't on the same page, right? Does that make sense? So you have one group doing one thing and you have another group doing another. And I'm like, one group is trying to solve a problem and it felt like the other group ain't really trying to solve it. You know, it just felt more like a recap, which in and of itself would have been okay, but we saw the other group. So I'm like, oh, why didn't you just do that too? Interesting. Apparently Stormi was not feeling the tea party. She felt like it was pompous and bougie. But she does say that she feels like her and Melody was good. She didn't feel like their situation was in the rear, which I mean, I guess that means like she didn't feel like it was something that they needed to. Usually, I would have interpreted in the rear as meaning like behind us. But I felt like what she meant was like it wasn't so much, it wasn't so big that she was just putting their friendship behind them. But I don't know. That's how I took it. You know, Kimmy liked the tea party, but there's tea to be spilled, okay? Because apparently Keke sent Latisha a message after the tea. Apparently, Tiffany has sent Keke the year prior to, so last year, a message of somebody saying they liked how Keke was coming for Latisha. And apparently there was also a tweet that I'm gonna pull up right now from April of last year at 7:05 p.m. And I'm assuming it could have been Central Standard Time. I'm not really sure. It doesn't matter. But anyway, and it says, Carlos, keep Keke. Keke gonna tell everything. Now, this was probably in regards to Keke saying some stuff about, you know, Latisha and Marceau, or at least I think Marceau from, I think it could have been the Christmas party, but I'm not really sure. So anyway, apparently Tiffany liked the tweet and sent it to Keke. And so Keke was like, well, how are you mad at me for coming for Latisha, but you feel like you don't, and then you say you don't know me, but you sending me text messages. And I'm like, okay. I mean, Stormi's kind of shocked because she's like, that's interesting. Because Tiffany was very much like, I don't know her. So then Stormi reveals that she met with Tiffany. Tiffany is all over the place. And it was brought up about Latisha getting kicked out of her office. We already talked about that. And Stormi was like, well, she owns the company. And then Tiffany was like, well, that could just be on paper. And then the flashback shows Tiffany saying, well, she thinks that they could be a woman titled a woman-owned business for the benefits, because sometimes, women-owned businesses can, get contracts, or they can apply for certain types of contracts, and it provides that added benefit to the company, right? But she's saying that it would seem like that could be the case, and Marceau actually still has control. So Latisha is basically just the front owner. You know what I'm saying? But it's really Marceau who's behind the scenes pulling the strings. And then when the topic of infidelity came up, Tiffany allegedly said that, because remember how Latisha was like, we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that at the spa. And says that, well, it had been brought up too many times to be, questioned, to not be questioned for sure, if whether or not Marceau was, had participated in any infidelity activities. And so Tiffany then also allegedly said that Latisha cannot control her man. So now Latisha is pissed because there's a rumor. She says there's a rumor going on about Tiffany's marriage. And I'm like, now see, Latisha, now this is where we got to have a little Ponderosa, because I'm like, Latisha, you can't tell us there's a rumor going on about Tiffany, but then not tell us what the rumor is, because you have invited us into the party, and now we want to know what a boom boom room is, because you told us there's a boom boom room, so now we want to see it. Ain't that? Think about it like this. You might not be trying to go into the boom boom room, but you definitely want to know what a boom boom room is. I'm just saying. Okay. You definitely gave us some tea, but now you are like not adding. You're not gonna give it to us. You telling you got some tea. Okay, I got the tea right here, y'all. Y'all want some tea? This tea is tasty. Mm-hmm. Yum yum yum. Tea. Mm-hmm. Give me that tea. You know what I'm saying? But now you're not gonna tell us about it. Like, girl, come on now. Like, don't do that. It's the equivalent to me. I'm about to take it back, and I just got to say this. I was slightly annoyed by it. Like, when I reflect back on it, it was like Melody. To Latisha, it would be like Melody telling her, "Well, you need to go talk to your husband back all them years ago about maybe rumors about things that Marceau had done, but not really going into detail about it." So imagine if Latisha felt that frustration. And I know I'm going off a deep end on this one, but as a viewer, I'm like, well, okay, I want to know what is it? Okay, because that's how I felt back then. That's how I feel now. That's just, I'm just keeping it real, 100% with y'all. So, anyway, the night of the event, everybody's there. Stormi pulls Tiffany away to talk, and then Keke kind of saunters over, and this is it's about to go down. So the text message comes up. Now, this not the text message, but this tweet is coming back up again. So let me pull it back up to you. This is the tweet that was allegedly sent to Keke from Tiffany, that Tiffany had also allegedly liked, right? Or one of the, one of them or something like that. So, Tiffany is like, I was only supporting the part that said Keke. Now, because I know that there's a high level of intelligence there with Tiffany, I am now also, I have to think like, girl, now is you trying to use your intelligence to fool us or what? Because don't tell me that you ain't see the whole rest of that message. I don't know. It just seems kind of weird. I can understand her desire to be like, yes, okay, I'm in support of Carlos keeping you around. Yes. But the following thing that you said is Keke gonna tell everything, which is really about Latisha. So it's like, come on now. Like, you can't, I don't know. It feels to me like one of those things that Bethany always be talking about. And y'all know she she be on one sometimes, but sometimes she be you got to take the bones. You got to take the little bit of meat off the bones that you can from what she say, okay? And one of the things that she says is you can't play, the villain and the victim. You can't play smart and stupid. So, like for me, I just feel like this is one of those instances where I'm like, now Tiffany, girl, especially if this was also attached to a video. Like, come on now. Like, it just seems a little cockamamie to me. And it also seems very cockamamie to me that you are all verklempt at the idea that Keke is coming for her cousin. You know what I'm saying? Yes, it's we don't like it. I mean, necessarily, we don't like the fact that it's a cousin coming after a cousin. We don't like that. But do we believe that you are so verklempt that you didn't like it that much? I don't know. I really don't know. But it has created some controversy, so we're gonna run with it. So anyway, she also says she also allegedly did not know what the post was about. Girl, you didn't you didn't know what the post was about? Like, see, this is again one of those situations where I'm like, you can't play smart and stupid at the same time. Like, we know that you can read. We know that. So I don't understand this. Anyway, so then Stormi, and Tiffany says that she didn't have the whole post, which also included the video, but I don't think you need the video for that context. Anyway, and then I feel like when you have had to go really scrolling through the hashtag, I don't know. So Stormi's like, well, you know what? I'm gonna go get Tisha so we can get to the bottom of it. So Keke is like, well, how come you can say you didn't know me, but you texted me? And B, you care so much about Latisha, but you texted me this. So Tiffany is looking real crazy right now. So Stormi has to kind of break it all down for Tiffany. And then there's some back and forth between Tiffany and Keke again. And Keke has moments where I feel like Keke can be, right. But Keke, again, to me, always makes the mistake of overshooting, and she hasn't necessarily learned how to go back and forth with somebody without taking things to another level, right? So, and Latisha is trying to just calm the situation down by saying they got off on the wrong foot. So Tisha then takes this opportunity to address Tiffany for talking about her behind her back, and addresses what Tiffany said about her business and asks, well, what's your problem with me? And, Tiffany's like, well, I don't have a problem with you. Okay. So I'm like, she just says, I don't think Martel should have kicked you out of your office. And I'm like, girl, like, that's not all you talked about. So, like, really, let's keep it real. But I don't understand why Latisha ain't really going in this moment, because she sounded real mad before. Okay. So Keke once again tries to step in and give Tiffany a lesson in what's going on. And Tiffany's like, I don't need any lessons from you, period. So Keke at this point, again, overshoots and goes off calling Tiffany a cuckoo bird. And Latisha basically has to walk her off because, the woman is pregnant, and Latisha's like, you know what, we could just do this another time. So let's get into the Martel and the Sharia of it all, because she finally gets there along with Martel, and everybody's commenting about how happy he's looking, and Kimmy talks about how Martel and Sheree look more like a business arrangement than a dating arrangement. And I was like, ooh, and see, this is where I'm like, again, it's being said now again by somebody else on the cast that he's actually on. And this is somebody who knows how he is. Now, granted, you're not gonna be like you are in one relationship to the next, but I do think that she has known them long enough, and she's known the parties long enough to know that something seems off about it. Okay. And I just feel like, yes, Kimmy, continue to call it like, how the streets been saying it is. Okay. Because that we can only tell you what it feels like. Because to me, I'm gonna get to it in a second. I'm gonna get to it. And she's basing this a lot on how he and Melody used to work the room together. Okay. So Martel takes the stage and thanks everybody, including the lady beside him, makes no mention of his lady friend, which, okay, that's fine. It's fine if you're not gonna mention your cut buddy or whatever. And when he comes off the stage, she's all like, congratulations, baby. And I think I see Destiny in the crowd, but not for too long. And so Martel gets to work in the room, and he kind of leaves Sheree to stand around awkwardly. And it's just like, it's real. I mean, it's getting real awkward. And she's just kind of standing around, not knowing what to do or whatever. Now, let me say this. I just feel like if you were going to sell me candy, okay, sell me candy. You know, this is your opportunity to really showcase this situation. Now, I don't know if y'all haven't talked about this beforehand, but you know, if you really want to sell this relationship or situationship or whatever you guys are calling it, then y'all might want to act like you guys have you practiced in the privacy of your homes, you know, in your dwelling places, in the dressing room beforehand, in the car on the way over. Like, yo, like when you get there, like, you know, I need you to give her warm embraces, come up behind her and put your arms around her, kiss the nape of her neck, you know, tap her on the lips every now and again. You know what I'm saying? Just, I mean, I don't know, just give some sense of like y'all are familiar with each other because it's given unfamiliar to me. Okay. It's given very much unfamiliar. So, Marceau is clowning how Martell looks airbrushed on the magazine. And let me say this because I feel like this does need to be said. This is not necessarily in defense of Martell because y'all know how I feel about him right now. But what I will say is this. I mean, when you are on the cover of a magazine, yeah, they are likely going to airbrush you. A couple of things. Most magazine covers are airbrushed. Now, it depends on to the level, depending on the magazine. But number two, it's like you don't have no control over that. He don't have control over that. Like once he does the photo shoot, that's it. It's up to the people at the magazine, and they're gonna do what they see fit to make sure that their magazine looks glossy and perfect. Because don't nobody want to see no distracting flaws on the cover of no magazine. And it is what it is. That's just the reality of it. And trust me, I understand it. I know. Okay. So I just wanted to talk about that for a second because it really bothered me and it annoyed me. Anyway, as Sheree standing awkwardly by herself, Tiffany takes some time to strike. Okay. And when I say strike, she is like a cobra with the venom. And so she's now, I ain't gonna lie, she asking the tough questions, invasive but tough. Okay. And so, oh, this is all in the name of looking out for Mel. That's so funny that she's looking out for Mel today. Okay. So anyway, so has Sheree ever met Mel? Sheree's like, not really. So that would give Tiffany a heart attack because she'd want to know that she'd want to meet the person who was going to be around her kids. And Sheree clarifies, well, she didn't. I did meet Melody. You know, she came to a book signing event of mine and she wanted to take a picture with me. And I took a picture with her and little Martell. So Sheree has never seen them again. So Tiffany's like, well, but you've been around her kids. And Sheree clarifies, well, it's been when he's had the kids and she wasn't there. And for Tiffany, that's weird. And she's like, we must fix this. You must meet Melody. And so Tiffany then wants to know if Martel still has feelings for Melody. So Sheree says she doesn't see it from their conversations, but Tiffany's like, really? Now, in her confessionals, she kind of breaks the fourth wall. Another interesting aspect of this episode. And she says, well, all the fans, all the people on Twitter, all the raindrops and the millimeters know that Martel has feeling for Melody and she wants Sheree to be real about that. Now, granted, if I were to believe that this situation is all the way 100% real, versus what we're being given on the show, because I feel like it's not coming across real. Again, it's coming across unfamiliar. I would say that we don't know what he's telling her. You know what I'm saying? He could be telling her one thing and then showing up to this show and doing a completely different thing. So we get a flashback from the reunion of Carlos telling Martel that he still has feelings for Melody. And Tiffany then reveals to Sheree that he was following Melody around Kimmy's party at the beginning of the season like a little puppy dog. And Sheree says, well, he should care. That's the mother of his kids. So as Kimmy peeps the conversation off to the side, she knows. She's like, oh, it's about to go down and it could go real left. So then Tiffany is not letting anything go. She wants to know what it's like dating someone who is a known cheater. I'm actually, if I did not know Sheree, I was feeling real bad for her. I really was, because I felt like Sheree kind of felt like alone in the woods. You know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't her territory. So I don't think she felt like she could do what she might normally do. And because Tiffany is also expecting, it's kind of like, how do you maneuver in this situation? But I mean, does she make a moment like Martel did with Kenya? or does she keep her cool and stay calm and collected and read this lady for filth silently? So Sheree had to put the drink down and says, "Girl, I watched your show and I know that you cheated too. Everybody has a past." And I was like, "Okay, Sheree." I mean, she didn't really go in too deep. It still felt like a friendly conversation on Sheree's half. It didn't feel so friendly on Tiffany's, especially when Tiffany says, so I thought she said initially, because he put the D down like that. That's what I thought she said. We're going to discuss what she actually said in a little bit. But I thought she said that. That's what I wrote. And I'm like, Tiffany, oh my God. And then in her confessional, she goes even further. She says that he wanted a woman with more experience and closer to Miss Marlene's age. Baby, I said, no, you did not come for the woman's age. No, you didn't. Oh my goodness. So sadly, we don't get to see the end of this conversation, which I'm like, I need to see what happened next. Okay. But we only got 42 minutes. So the next day or so or whatever, Sheree stops by Martell's. And I'm like, see, this is what I'm talking about. I don't know about y'all, like, and maybe they not, if I'm supposed to believe this, okay. Maybe they ain't there yet. Maybe they ain't there yet, and she just want to, stay, true to, her, just, staying, I'm not trying to stay with this man like that, but I just feel like if you would have wanted us, like, sell it to me. Like, you're not selling me this candy. You are not selling it to me. Like, I need you to throw it in my face. You know what I'm saying? That y'all, like, I needed for her to walk down the stairs. You know what I'm saying? And him making breakfast for her. That's what I needed. You know what I'm saying? Because the way they played it on Atlanta was like, oh yeah, it almost looked like they was about to get busy after the chef left. You know what I'm saying? So on this show, when she coming over, and I know it's supposed to have happened after the Real Housewives of Atlanta episode, why would you be staying someplace else? I mean, again, at least make me think that you done spent the night, or at least pick the scene. I think y'all should just have picked the scene up with them having a conversation. And then can we get into this awkward hug, this awkward, unfamiliar hug? I mean, it looked like he didn't want to be touched by this woman. It really did. She trying to wrap her arms around, she trying to play the role, and I feel like he don't know how to play the role. And I'm like, what are we doing here? Clearly, you got the experience, my brother. Clearly. Just looking completely unfamiliar. So anyway, he was studying, and again, they awkwardly hug. And so they recap the event, and she brings up, well, we talked about marriage and blending families. Now, y'all didn't got to the point where y'all talking about marriages and blending families, but you staying at the hotel? I don't know. So anyway, he says, well, with everything from the divorce, she says, what's your mindset after everything with the divorce? He thinks that they can get over the hurdle of the custody situation. Things will be smooth sailing. And he thinks that Sheree is wife material because she knows how to be submissive. Really? Is that I don't know what she like in a relationship, because I don't really feel like we didn't really seen that much of it. So I mean, and that's all. It is what it is. So he's asking her if she's down to move to Huntsville. Why? She can't even stay at your house. Why would she move to Huntsville? And I'm like, that ain't happening, because she got a whole show to do in Atlanta. So she brings up Tiffany and wonders who sent Tiffany for her, okay? Because she was asking intrusive questions about his feelings for Mel. And Sheree was like, well, do you still have feelings for her? And he says, well, no. And Tiffany says that she tells him that Tiffany told her that the last time they saw each other, he was following Mel around. And he says, well, I'm a gentleman. That's what I do, And then he says Mel was by herself most of the time, and he wasn't even around her like that. And I'm like, the lies from what the camera showed. But anyway, he says that people are misinterpreting his actions. So then he says it's not particularly about her. And Sheree is like, I need for you to be clear, okay? And he says, no, he doesn't have any feelings for Mel. In his confessional, he believes that Tiffany should stay in her lane. So then Sheree tells him that Tiffany also asked her how she felt dating someone who was a known cheater. Sheree relays that she knows Tiffany is a cheater as well, And then that she asked Sheree if she thought that she was putting the kitty down that bad that he's not gonna go back to his ex. Now, again, this is what I thought that Tiffany had asked her about the D, but she was actually asking Sheree about whether or not her kitty was so good that she thought that Martell would never go back to Melody or maybe anybody else that he was messing with. I didn't know Tiffany said that at the time. Regardless, I thought it was inappropriate. And at that point in time, I do think that Sheree had every reason or right to go the heck off. I think she could have definitely read Tiffany the riot act. But again, I mean, Tiffany went up against a juggernaut of a shade queen, and Tiffany held her own. And even and I'm shocked that Tiffany went there. I would have expected Keke to go there. No shade, Keke. But I definitely wouldn't have expected Tiffany to go there because I just got finished talking to y'all about the level of emotional intelligence. But that's also why I said she also, you can't play the victim and the villain at the same time. So next week when they ask you about it, you can't act like you so shocked and oh my God, like why is everybody coming at me? Because what you asked her was mad inappropriate. Mad inappropriate. Whether or not you believe that they're really dating or not, I don't think that there's any reason to disrespect the woman and talk to her that way, especially if you feel like she is Miss Marlene's age. How about that? Ain't you disrespecting your elders? I mean, it by your own terms, okay? But is that how you roll? You know what I'm saying? So that's a good question for me. They both feel like it was mad and appropriate, and Sheree didn't want to curse her out at his event because she's also pregnant. Martell wants to talk to Tiffany, but I also think that he should talk to Lewis. To be quite frank with you, I just feel like when you are choosing as a man, when you are choosing to have that level of discourse with a woman about something very uncomfortable, if she's married and she's pregnant, I definitely think that you either need to have her husband there, or I think you need to talk to her husband. I don't think that the conversation needs to be between Martell and Tiffany, only because I think as a man, you have to take the proper channels of communication. And that's just how I think. Y'all can feel differently, but I think in order to keep your sanity, and I think in order to keep the story straight, and I think that in order for nobody to feel threatened, you wanna have that conversation with the man involved, especially if you are his friend. I just think that that's how it needs to move. But that's just me. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section down below. And of course, we will catch you guys in the next video.